Hi guys, I hope you're all well and welcome to episode 151 of the James Layton Fitness Podcast. Now in this specific episode we're discussing bench press mistakes and how to fix them, similar to deadlift and the squat. This particular exercise is a very tricky exercise. There's a lot of moving parts, and this is an exercise I see performed incorrectly all the time, and even with myself I'm still perfecting this now. This is an exercise that you need to constantly focus on improvement. It's not particularly easy just because there's so many things going on. So the first mistake I see is just a poor setup. A poor setup typically means that the back is just flat on the pad and the legs are just essentially loose. There's no real emphasis or thought process going into where the feet position should be and how the back setup should be. So essentially I want you to focus on actually dragging the feet underneath the bench as much as possible. You're going to turn your toes out and you're going to focus on squeezing your glutes and then focusing on having a slight arch in your lower back. You really want this fixed brace position. What most people typically do is they just let their legs hang. Basically, you need to realize that you can, one, create power from driving your feet through the floor, but secondly, by actually having your feet just in a brace position, you need to realize that any lack of tightness means a loss of power. So by having your legs loose, you're just essentially losing power. So I want you to focus on driving your feet underneath the bench, turning your toes outwards, trying to squeeze your quads, squeeze your glutes, and then focusing on having that slight arch in the lower back. And that will be the ideal position for the bench press. The second mistake I see is people having the bar position too high up on the chest. You really want to be focusing on getting that bar position to the bottom of the sternum. So this is typically much further down the chest than you may have thought was correct. There's a couple of reasons for this. Firstly, you just be more explosive from this position lower down the chest, but secondly, this is going to keep your shoulders in a much safer position. If you have the bar coming too high on the chest, typically you're going to get the delts that are going to take over the movement, and therefore you can potentially pick up shoulder injuries. Whereas by having the bar lower down the bottom of the sternum but below the nipple line, you're going to be in a position where you're going to put your shoulders in a safer place, and you'll also be more powerful. Third mistake is people flaring their elbows too much. Similar to what I just said about the bar position, if your elbows are flared too much, you're going to put your shoulders in a compromised position. You want to be tucking your elbows. You want to be tucking your elbows as opposed to having them flared. Obviously, there's a balance. You want to have them too tucked, so you're in a position where you're performing a close grip bench press, but you don't want them too flared either. They need to be relatively tucked by your side. Again, this will be a safer position for your shoulders, and you'll also be more explosive in this position as well. The second mistake is not driving through your legs. So similar to what I said about the setup, you actually want to be focusing on driving your feet through the floor during the bench press. This will make a huge difference to how much weight you can lose. Again, you'll be in a tighter, more braced position, but you can also generate power by actually driving your feet through the floor. So that's the next thing to focus on. Finally, focus on having full depth. Make sure that that bar is actually coming down all the way to the chest before actually driving the weight to the top position. If you're not actually allowing the bar to travel closer to your chest, you're not focusing on a full range of motion, and that's absolutely critical for stimulating all the muscles you're trying to work with in the bench press, mainly the chest and triceps, but also the delts as well. So you want to focus on a full range of motion. So hopefully this podcast episode has been useful just to open your eyes to what is bad technique and what is good technique, what you should really be focusing on to improve your bench press. So hopefully this will be useful. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, and if you're still yet to download my free ebook, How to Set Up a Nutrition Plan, if you go to James Layton, Layton fitness.co.uk, you'll see a tab at the top of the page called free ebook, and you can download that immediately. I look forward to speaking to you next week. Thank you very much.